It's the appointed time, and we have a quorum, and I call the meeting order. I call the meeting to order. There are two sessions of this session. After the first session, we'll have a 10-minute break, and the second one will start at 5:10. But I don't think we'll need that one. Let me remind members that if there is any direct or indirect pecuniary interest with the items under discussions, members please declare the nature of the interest before you speak under Rules of Procedure, Rule 83A. And I'd also like to draw members' attention to ROP Rule 84 in relation to voting on items that you have a direct pecuniary interest. I'm not going to move an adjournment or 37A, but I'd like to say that the agenda item is unbelievably short, and the administration has been saying that, they concern about the delay in issuing additional payment of OALA and OAA. So I wonder why the administration does not submit more items that they have expressed a concern. Say, for example, to give the additional payments to elderly people ASAP. Mr. Lee Chuk-yen and Ms. Emily Lau, are you going to ask the same thing? Is related. Well, P.S., will you answer that? Because I don't think we can finish this meeting as in too short a time. P.S. Well, originally we asked the chairman to allow us to start discussion about the creation of posts under the Innovation and Technology Bureau. However, this cannot be done. Well, the administration asked for that after the deadline, but they know full well that there is a very short item. Why didn't they make a proposal ASAP so that elderly people will receive the additional payments? Yes, we will make our proposed agenda on time next time. Mr. James Toll. Well, I would like to say more or less the same thing. I don't find the PS answer satisfactory. Well, the government will have to use limited time to have the various initiatives related to the budget launched ASAP. So I find it rather strange, and I don't know what reasons they have. Every time they will gauge how much time it would take for the items to be voted on. And if indeed there are other items waiting to come to the FC, and if for some reason they can't, then that's fine. But prior to the meeting, I've heard from somewhere, I don't know from where, Secretariat or what, that this item has been discussed by the PWSC, and there is no request for separate voting based on past experience. It will be over and done with quite quickly, but you did not ask for any more items to be added to the agenda. And the chairman has already set aside 2 sessions for today. I was going to arrange for a meeting, but I didn't want to do it because of the 2 sessions. I'm still awaiting a satisfactory answer. Mr. Toh, this committee can never force the administration to give a satisfactory answer to you. Well, it was just a slip of tongue that I said it's very short. It's not said by the Secretariat. I corrected myself. Well, let me say that each will have 5 minutes. There's nothing we can do even if you're not happy with the answers given by the administration. I was asked by some other members why there are 2 sessions. We already set that aside because there will be abundant time for us to discussion, and we don't want to add it in short notice, only when we realize we need more time. So it will be better prepared for us to have 2 sessions, because I don't know when members will raise 39 or 37. And it was to everyone's surprise that in the last meeting, the Liantang project was endorsed. P.S. Would you like to answer Mr. To? The same answer? Ms. Emily Lau. Well, I see a paper from the Secretariat, and there is also a letter sent to you about adding the item of creation of posts under the ITB, and you have rejected their request. And I think, yes, that is the correct decision. And I'd like to say that that proposal item is very controversial. And you may want to have ample time. But if it is in front of items that we would very much like to be we would very much like them to be voted on, and it will be blocked by the controversial item. So please understand that when it comes to items that are related to people's livelihoods or the civil service pay, please let them go ahead first. Don't deal with the controversial item and as a result create a congestion. And I see that we have about 4 to 6 hours before mid-July. Please, don't engage in a petty quibble with society or electrical. We understand. It's not that we engage in a petty quibble with anyone. We share the concern of electrical and society. Well, I don't know whether you have submitted the proposal yet. You are the former chairman, of course. You know that next week there is no meeting. I just corrected myself. Give me some more time. I can give you much more time than that. Yes, there is no meeting next week. Well, but perhaps we would have already dealt with what we're supposed to deal with in the council meeting and won't have anything to do on Friday. And you want to put this in, and if you propose to submit this before other items that we would like to be endorsed ASAP, then that is no good for us. Is it the case that you already have the information that you would like to put this controversial item at the front? Is that right? P.S. Once we have decided on the agenda item, we will let you know ASAP. Well, it's good that you haven't decided yet. Please take on board our comment and advice. Otherwise, no one will like to see the result, and the public will be up in arms. Well, when it comes to controversial items, please make sure that it's thoroughly discussed before you submit it in the FC. There are other items that members would like to deal with ASAP, and please let them come to the FC soon. Well, you all want to be neutral, but if there is another item before the ITB, members may engage in filibustering even in the first item. And if some members said that, there won't be any filibustering, perhaps the government will believe you, and then they take on board your suggestion only to find that there is filibustering. Then they will be caught off guard. Say, for example, if ITB is not voted down, and then the Agricultural and Fishery Fund is after that, then it will have to be voted on in under 3 minutes. Yes, you know that it's been said that you're the best FC chairman. No. Well, I think it's not right for you to say something like that after that person has said a good word about you. I just want to remind you what has been said, and I'm sure the permanent secretary is very wise and will learn from previous lesson and do better this time. Mr. Lee Chuk-yan. We just want to do what's right. We don't want to delay anything. We want the proposal of civil service pay rise to come to us as soon as possible. And there is also an initiative under the budget, that is additional payment for the grassroots and the needy to improve their lives, and also in relation to RCHEs and other social welfare facilities. We would like to see them submitted to the FCA ASAP. And of course, the Pan Democrats and the Labour Party would like to see them endorsed very soon. Just now the PS has said that it is not a petty quibble. Well, but what's worse is that, yes, it may not be a petty quibble. They want to engage in a struggle. CY Leung wants to engage in a struggle. And he wants the whole society to be anxious about what he wants, which is the ITB. And that's for no reason at all. He does it for his pride. And he just wants to engage in a struggle. And started from the very beginning with the government restructuring. And several months ago, there was the funding approval of the ITB being voted down, and it had to start from afresh. In reply to Ms. Emily Lau's question, the PS made it sound like it would be considered. But in answer to Mr. Albert Chan, what she said made us worry. You said that that takes priority. Please make it clear. Why does the government want to accord the highest priority to ITB and not, say, for example, additional payments as of social welfare allowance and civil service pay rise? These are related to people's livelihood. Please make it clear, because your answer to Mr. Albert Chan's question was that yes, it would be accorded priority, and that's indeed very worrying. The questions are being repeated. P.S. I don't have anything else to add. Any follow-up? Well, that's what she said in answer to Mr. Albert Chan's question. She said that yes, that would take priority. So you did not ask whether she said it or not. Yes, that's what I asked. Should we listen to the recording? No, there's no need. That's what she said. She said yes, that you would accord priority to that. P.S. Let me say this again. The last meeting, 5th of June. Well, on the 4th of June, we have to set today's agenda. And at that time, there was the Liantang proposal, and we thought we would need more time. So on the 4th of June, when we made the proposed agenda, is the item on the agenda you see today, plus what hasn't been dealt with, that is the Liantang project. However, last Friday, the Liantang project was voted on, and we see there are 4 hours today, and we want to make good use of it. So for us, for the government, well, what needs to be dealt with first would be the ITB. Yes, that's what I heard. Well, you can't give me an answer today, so I ask you to change the priority. Again, don't put the ITB at the beginning of the queue. Instead, give priority to the additional social security payment, the civil service pay rise, and RCHEs and the social welfare facilities complex. Can you do that? Well, of course, we want all these items to be submitted to the FCA ASAP. So would they be Would they go before the ITB? We have to accord priority, and we believe that you know full well what our priorities are. Well, yes, I know very well where your priority lies, which is to engage in a struggle, and you will put the ITB first, and it's something we don't want to see. So I really want you to just to give priority to livelihood projects. Ms. Leung Kwok-Hong. I was asked when the additional payments would be given, and I said, well, the government will have to come to us to get funding. And today we heard what you said. Well, you talk about no additional payment for the grassroots, and the hospital authority doesn't have enough money to use. Well, that's what you said. But now, when you have the opportunity, you don't try to avoid that. I don't know if the person who asked me that question will watch television. I'm sure you can see it. I didn't expect you to be so cunning. I don't want to make it so I don't want to leave no room to maneuver. Well, that previously they said that there won't be funding for additional payment and this and that, and in the end, well, we see C.Y. Leung scurry to Canada, leaving the trio in Hong Kong to deal with the constitutional reform proposal. And now I say the government is just disgraceful, despicable, and unscrupulous. Well, what I said to the other party was, sorry, I failed in my filibustering, and I will continue to fight for that next year. I can tell you, I have never seen a government that is so shameful and disgraceful as this one. Well, they said that they need $6.6 billion, and they said it was an act of mercy and to benefit the grassroots, but they don't do what they say. Well, that was Nicholas Young, and he doesn't speak good Cantonese, and he has to use English. And on one hand, you try to lobby us to give you funding, and on the other hand, this is what you do. There's no need to meet with this Nicholas Young. So what is actually going on in the head of the government? And it was said that if the proposal is voted down, then we ought to all work together to improve people's livelihood. Well, I think, the ITB is not even established yet. And we're still waiting for the $6.6 billion to be used for the grassroots. So you have a surplus of $100 billion. You can't even spare $6.6 billion. My name is Leung Kwok-Hong. I will fight you. Poor people are wise too. So you can't just send them to come to scold me. They will see what's going on, and that they will scold you too. And you only need to spend $6.6 billion to the poor, and you don't do that, but instead you give away $23 billion to the rich. Those people don't need the money. What are you doing? Even if you can make someone beat me in the street, I'm sure the same will happen to C.Y. Leung. You're playing tricks. And you don't even give $6.6 billion for additional Social Security payment. I tell you that next time I want to see the additional Social Security payments at the front of the queue. It's about someone with integrity, a government with integrity. And the FS, John Zhang, was on the brink of tears, saying that, we will be in trouble if we don't have the funding to make the additional payments or the funding approval for the use of departments. If you keep doing the same thing, I can tell you that I'll eat my hat if I don't engage in filibustering. Well, if next time you put the ITB in the front of the queue, I will filibuster. Otherwise, I will eat my hat. CY Leung is cunning. No one is more cunning than he is. And that's the case for Fanny Law as well. They try to lobby us, but they don't do what they say they would. You want someone to beat me to death and then to have this voted on?
Mr. Alan Leong, thank you, Chairman. In this legislative year, we still only have FCs on the 26th of this month, the 3rd and also the 10th of July, only 3 days. We heard CY Leung say that the constitutional package will not be supported, so he will concentrate on livelihood. And Carrie Lam said without the constitutional package, she will concentrate on poverty alleviation. We can still hear them say these things, and yet the civil servants are waiting for their pay rise. People are waiting for extra double payments in terms of welfare payments. And then we also have RCHE and rehabilitation buildings, and also items supported by the PWSC, which are not controversial at all, and those which benefit many people, and also would benefit all the units in the construction alliance. Now, all these are livelihood issues, and they affect so many people. The constitutional package will not be passed. It is quite sure. And yet, he is saying, okay, I will concentrate on the economy and poverty alleviation. But what they are doing is that in the last 3 FC meetings, he will first of all engage in a struggle, and livelihood issues will have to make way and be sacrificed for this. What is CY Leung doing? People are waiting for extra double payments of welfare, and civil servants are paying for their pay rise. Elderly people are waiting in the queue to go into an RCHE, and people need rehabilitation homes, and all these people are held hostage. He wants to increase the number of hostages. So CY Leung can hold this council to ransom. I think it is quite despicable. The Construction Alliance is listening, and they have met with me twice in the last 4 months. I was quite happy to meet with them, and I explained to them many times. I said the PWSC is doing our best. We have shown Hong Kong people how we can effectively monitor the executive and how that PWSC should go about its work. All those who embrace local Hong Kong values in scrutinizing the items, and if we should look at items which require huge investment without reasonable return for Hong Kong people, we will veto them. But we will always let livelihood issues pass. And I told them, who is standing in your way now that you don't have work and your families are waiting to be fed? That person is CY Leung. It is not the Legislative Council. And today you are shown again because he insists that an unripe item of the ITB should be put before the FC and take up all the meeting time in the next 3 meetings that we still have within this legislative year. This is an act of ransom. I hope those who are held hostage by CY Leung should understand this. Blame him. Go to him to settle scores. Mr. Chairman, I really want the PS, when she submits an agenda for the chairman to approve, well, I think it should not be later than the 18th. I hope that the PS, when she submits an agenda to you, Chairman, for approval, she will place the extra double welfare payments, civil service pay rise, and items supported by the PWSC and RCHE and rehabilitation building items at the top of the agenda. And I know the Pan Democrats will not filibuster on those items. Thank you. Mr. Chiang Kwok-chi. Thank you, Chairman. I tend to be pragmatic. In February, the Welfare Services Panel supported 2 items for building integrated rehabilitation complexes, one in Kwun Tong, the other one in the former Siloam Hospital site, and yet they have not come to the FC. And in April, we supported the double payment for OAA or CSSA after the budget was supported. And in May, the RCHE at Shangshui Choyun Road was also supported. So these are integrated rehabilitation complexes and RCHEs. As you know, even if they are supported here at the FC, they still take a few years to be built. We are very anxious. 1 month earlier is 1 month earlier. Chairman, you mentioned that you rejected the addition of the ITB item on today's agenda. But we all know that that can wait. And yet why did the administration not propose again that livelihood issues should take the place of that item when it was rejected? In the next meeting, if the ITB would again be at the top of the agenda, I will be very worried about livelihood items. I don't know whether they would have to be postponed to the next legislative year and be passed only in January next year. Well, this year we endorsed the civil service pay only in January, and I don't know who the civil servants and the NGOs should take to task. As the chairman of the Welfare Services Panel, Mr. Chairman, I'd like you to tell the administration in no unclear terms that they should submit those items I listed next time because they are already mature items. So, Chairman, I'd like to ask whether the PS can give that undertaking today. I can't really give you a hand because, quite frankly, don't have too much expectation of the agenda because it is proposed by the administration. What I can do is, when there is not enough time, I can refuse giving exemption for the notice period. As to the agenda, I cannot direct them to do anything. Next, Mr. KK Fong. Thank you, Chairman. The message is the same. The FS said that there were relief measures in the budget. They are called relief measures because people need to be relieved. And you know why people want to be relieved. That is because they have difficulties and they are in a plight. If you only give lip service to the relief items, of course they won't be proposed by the FS and we would not have supported them. Not counting the CE, the FS is one of the top 3 officials. And the budget was supported. And when it comes to funding support, why is it that he could just put them aside? And then these are not new proposals. The government paying 1 month rent for PRH residents and then double payment for disability allowance and CSSA, etc. Well, these have been done before for a few years, and you can even photocopy the papers that you submitted in previous years by just changing the date. Therefore, Chairman, I fail to see why these very important relief measures, also in the eyes of the government, are left in the air. You can't blame members for suspecting you for pegging these to the IT Bureau and holding members ransom so that members would be forced to support the ITB. But please don't do this. Don't hold 500,000 PRH residents, disability sufferers, and civil servants to ransom. Well, you can say I'm making a wild guess, but in fact, I faced this problem before, and I cannot but doubt that there is another possibility. Now, that is for your judgment. If before the summer we cannot support these items, we have to revisit them in October, and then the money will be available only at Christmas, and that would straddle the district council elections. Would this become a weapon for the other side? Because, in fact, in my constituency, I was tasked to have held up the funding proposals, and even if I was distributing pamphlets the whole day, I was still taken to task by constituents. I only spoke for 15 minutes during the budget debate, and yet I was smeared to be standing in the way of the double welfare payments for elderly people. So this may become a weapon for the other side to attack pan-democrats in the district council elections. I can certainly, I'm entitled to that kind of conspiracy thinking because it is already realized on me. Now, if you say this is not the case, prove it with facts. Do what the FS has said. Provide relief to the public. Don't wait anymore. Mr. Raymond Chan. Thank you, Chairman. In the afternoon of Wednesday, People Power already said in public what we are concerned with today, and that is the administration should not place livelihood issues behind the ITB, especially the extra double CSSA welfare payments, and say that members are blocking the ITB, and that is why the livelihood issues cannot be voted upon. A member said that in the eyes of C.Y. Leung, he has only one matter, and that is the ITB. Sorry, you are not discerning enough. In the eyes of C.Y. Leung, there is only struggle. The IT Bureau is secondary. He wants you to face unpleasant consequences. He wants to do things that hurt others, but those may not benefit himself. So whether or not the ITB is supported, he is not concerned with that. But he wants to stage a struggle so that the pan-democrats cannot have good days, that we cannot do good things for the public, and that we should be harmed. Now, I cannot represent other people, but I said in public, if you place livelihood issues, including extra double CSSA welfare payments, in front of IT Bureau, I understand the administration is worried that anything that comes before the ITB will be a tool for filibuster, that they will only be used for delaying the bringing of the ITB item to FC before summer. We said on Wednesday that if you place extra double welfare payment before ITB, now, whether or not you place one or many livelihood issues before ITB, the situation is going to be the same, because we know the IT Bureau will be there. And I'm saying we will not use these items as tools for delay. I'm speaking on my behalf. There will not be 37A, there will not be 39, there will not be filibuster. But of course, other members can still ask questions of the items. I hope the administration has heard us. I know you are in a difficult position. P.S. Well, I am telling you my thoughts, hoping that you will be helped when you lobby with your colleagues in the administration, I know you also want double extra CSSA payments to be made and other livelihood issues to be supported first. The CS4A was talking to us whether Hong Kong would be ungovernable if the constitutional package is not supported. I said, it is not a matter with the package. It is whether you want to use all the public power in your hands. If that is the case, then legislators have no choice but also use all our powers at the meetings. Whether the moderate pan-democrats and the radical pan-democrats will join hands to stand against the government, it is not for me to lobby them. It is what C.Y. Leung may do so that moderate pan-democrats will also have to assume a radical element so that they will also be throwing things. I think only C.Y. Leung has that ability to bring all the pan-democrats together so that we stand against him. If you want good governance, if you want to have good relationship between the executive and the legislature, this is where you want to do it. This is the Legislative Council. If C.Y. Leung insists on placing ITB in front of all the livelihood issues, then I would tell you we will not allow ITB to be passed. We will rather all the livelihood issues to be held in abeyance. And of course, the establishment camp is already hanging up banners saying that we are blocking payment to the public. I know this is what C.Y. Leung has in mind, but I'm sure civil servants are not in that camp. I can't say that about the accountability officials. And of course, you say maybe if we place anything before ITB, you will still filibuster. Well, you don't have to trust me. If that is the case, you can always withdraw it. You have the ability and power to withdraw items. And that's it. Last time you did not invoke 37A about ITB, and we just had a discussion, and that took 16 hours. Mr. Raymond Chan, you said members can still ask questions and have a discussion. It may still take very long. Next, Mr. Charles Mock. Chairman, C.Y. Leung said post-constitutional package, the Hong Kong government has to concentrate on the economy and livelihood issues. I hope he will do it. But we have not even vetoed it. We are going to veto it only next Wednesday or Thursday, but he is already going back on his words. I support the ITB, but it should not precede our livelihood and economy issues. It should not become the bone of contention. We are talking about extra double CSSA payments for the elderly and also civil service pay rise, etc. The ITB is important. I want it to be set up as soon as possible. Other pan-democrat colleagues may not share my view, but what we are seeing is we only have 3 more FC meetings before the summer, as you said, Chairman. If we do not add sessions, we'll only have 12 hours. And as you said, without invoking 37A, we already used 16 hours on it. And of course, we need more time for controversial items. It is not that a request will come from the administration saying, please give us a hand, and then don't ask questions, just let it pass. It won't happen that way. This is not how the council functions. The IT sector is not stupid. We can see what is happening with our hands. We are now put in the middle of the crossroads, and we don't feel good about that. Later on, if because of the delay, grassroots do not get what they need and we have promised them that they will get, will that be good for INT? And later on, the INT may be set up. Will it still have a good image if the public have been affected? So you can't say that if you have the power to do it, you will just do it and don't follow the procedures, because you may be bullying members who may not be very well versed with the procedures. And then you will again blame it on the pan-democrats for filibustering, and then we will not be able to have support for the livelihood issues. We don't do anything good for the economy and not the IT Bureau. And the only thing that will result is that C.Y. Leung will be able to continue with struggles. And then, as the member said, he was in the districts, and when the district council elections come, they will be scolded by the public, saying that they did nothing for livelihood, and so Pan-Democrats could be attacked during the DC elections, and also the IT sector will blame me, saying that I'm not their representative. But all this is orchestrated by the administration. Just follow the procedures. Bring up the livelihood issues first. Let us support them before summer, and then in October come back with this item, and I'm sure the situation will be much better. Livelihood and economy, and of course even politics, are all important. It's just that CY Leung cannot deal with politics in a good way. But he is already saying that he would like to do good to the economy and livelihood issues first.
But actually, this government likes politics, likes people's livelihood, and it only attaches importance to struggles. So we shouldn't be trapped by such lies. We hope that the people would have crystal clear eyes, and the government should go back and think twice. You should tell the government this is not the right thing to do, and everybody will suffer as a result. If you want to play political games, if you want to make political gains, and you just want to victimize the Pan-Democrats, okay, it doesn't matter if CY Leung is to be anointed by the central authorities again, and that would happen. But this is not what we are after at the council. We want to fight for livelihood issues for the people, and ITB is also very important. During this period, Mr. Yang has been talking to members, and we did have a good dialogue. I believe that in October, when you resubmit this item to us, we will have a thorough discussion. Now we just have very limited time left, and it's like you are staging a play, and people will be misled into thinking that we are filibustering and nothing can be done, and ITB cannot be established because of filibustering. Well, you cannot hold our industry hostage. Mr. Yip Kin Yuen, Chairman, I will be brief. Lately, Li Fei said that this is a test. In the coming few weeks, if we can approve civil service pay rise, welfare for the elderly, CSSA extra payments, then I think we are really serving the people. However, if in the coming few weeks, if you put this block here so that nothing can be passed smoothly, then we can see what the problem is. Does CY Leung really want people to have a good life? If not, then I think he should be reprimanded by the people. As for the touchstone, it would be there before the summer. Well, for CSS or for civil service pay rise, usually it will be passed before July every year. However, in the last year, it was only passed in January, and it was already very urgent at that time. This was not normal. However, if a good arrangement can be made, then you can see things can be done very fast and smoothly. So if this cannot be achieved, I think we would disappoint the civil servants and the people as a whole. The government has a choice. This block can be removed, and you can choose to put the block there. I think members have expressed very clearly their opinions today. We hope the government would really work for people's livelihood. We hope the government would make a wise choice. Ms. Claudia Mo, Well, before the beginning of this meeting, I heard the permanent secretary said that the government has accorded priorities to different issues. And we should be very clear about these priorities. Well, these words come from a gentle female senior civil servant, and I think she's helpless. Now, the whole system is not balanced. The Legislative Council is to monitor the work of the government, but now the government, of course, its own priority. We can reprimand the government, but the government just doesn't budge. Just one government official sits here, and she has to face all these criticisms. She cannot add anything, and she is speechless. And what is that priority? I think we are very clear about that. That is, the ITB has to be established. No matter what, it has to be top priority. It has to be passed first. As for other livelihood issues, Mr. Lam Tai-fai, I'm sorry. If you are leaving, I want to let you know that we do not have a quorum if you leave. We still have an agenda item to pass. There are 5 projects that have to be passed. And members have spent 45 minutes on this already. Ms. Claudia Mo, I'll give you back your time. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to repeat what has been said. What I regret most is that the government is doing this. It is the executive, and now it is using executive means to hold people hostage. I really regret it, and I don't know what you, Chairman, can do. Even universities, student unions can regret you. I'm not pinpointing you, Chairman, but I want to express my deepest regret about the government, and I also want to reprimand the government. This is an unimaginable executive means. You are like a kindergarten pupil. I don't like you, so that's why I would give you a bad time. You are taking away my lunchbox. I want to snatch your lunchbox as well. So what is the function of this legislature? I don't think it can function like this. Mr. Ho Chun-yin. Thank you, Chairman. Just now, some members said that livelihood issues are now held as hostage. Oh, you've been talking about ITB. For all projects to be submitted to the Finance Committee, they are livelihood issues. How can anyone say that these projects have nothing to do with Hong Kong people? So which project will be given the priority, I think, is the government's decision, and it's in the government's power. But the pan-democrats may think some other things are more important. However, Chairman, you should be independent and neutral. And also we have the civil service team here. The civil service team would have the final decision as to what items should be put to us first. Yes, some projects may be controversial. However, we should be responsible legislators. When we encounter difficulties or when we find it difficult to make decisions on certain items, we should try to solve the problems. We should overcome the obstacles. We should not sidestep it. I think some members are very good at rules of procedures. They have made the best use of the Finance Committee procedures. In the past, the government has never reshuffled the priority of different items. Well, you have not made the most use of your power, but our members have been abusing Rule 37A, and so that's why there was filibustering here. So for the opposition party, they want to use this as a means so that they can manipulate the priority of items to be discussed here. As for ITB, if it's not submitted to us now, then when will it be passed? What is a reasonable time for it to be passed? Or would it be like what Mr. Charles Mock said, the 1st of October? As long as the ITB is in the list of items to be discussed, then the pan-democrats would try to drag its feet. So what will be the influence on Hong Kong? We eventually have to talk about the establishment of the ITB. What we are discussing here is not one party's responsibility. It's the responsibility of both sides. I hope the pan-democrats will think twice. Shouldn't we be scrutinizing all these projects with our hearts? We have spent 16 hours on the discussion of ITB, and it went nowhere. As for my Agriculture and Fisheries Development Fund, it was also held for ransom. Well, you should have approved that $810 million first. Why was the Agriculture and Fisheries Development Fund held hostage? These are my views. I hope that the FC can really scrutinize all the items with their hearts. Mr. Albert Ho, Chairman, in this council, there are some items which we have reached consensus on. We want these items to be passed as soon as possible. For example, triple welfare payments, civil service pay increase, healthcare projects, welfare projects, etc. If our government is rational and pragmatic, Mr. Ho Chun Yin, we do not have a quorum if you leave the room. Yes, you may leave. I have counted. We have 8 members here. Mr. Albert Ho? If the government is rational and pragmatic, it should allow us to pass the livelihood issues first. Do something first. This is what you said yourself. You want to do more for the people. So we should resolve the easy things first and then tackle the more difficult problems. We all know that the establishment of the ITB is very controversial. So why do you want to put it at a top priority? As a result, we are arguing all the time. And for those items on which we have consensus will never be passed. I really cannot understand why. Unless you really want to destroy everything, you want Hong Kong to be torn apart, the council to be torn apart. The establishment of the ITB will be very controversial. There will be hours and hours of debates. But there are other issues that can be passed easily. For members who invoked 37A, they've already said that they will not be doing that for those livelihood issues. So why don't you just submit the livelihood issues to us first? I would like to ask the legal advisor. The legal advisor is not here. You have not asked the legal advisor to come here. So I would like to ask the clerk. Why can the chairman not influence the priority of the items? We have never said that. I would like to ask about Rule 21. Can you write to me? I have not asked the legal advisor to come here today. Can the clerk answer this question? I don't think the clerk can answer you. Well, why don't you ask the clerk to try to answer? Maybe she's wiser than you are. Well, it's not that I am not wise enough. I may not have the answer that you like. We have never discussed about this. Don't just jump to this point. I have the right to change the order in the agenda. Ever since the beginning of this year, we have been talking about this. And you still want to ask the clerk the question because you like to hear her voice. Yes, she has a very sweet voice. Okay, Rule 21. Mr. Albert Ho, you are saying that when the government submits items to us, the government would give us a proposed agenda, and then there will be an order under the agenda. So can the chairman change the order? Is that your question? I want to know if our chairman has that power. Members can put forward motions. Well, can I put forward a motion so that the order can be changed? As for members' motions, they should be related to fundings. Well, that should be related. Well, for the Finance Committee, all the proposals should be about funding. And if a member moves a motion, the motion should be about funding. If it is about the order of items in the agenda, then that should not be within the scope of a member's motion. Mr. James To and Mr. Lang Kwok Hong, you will be asking questions for the second round, but there will not be a second round. We already have very thorough discussions, and there's an item to be handled. Mr. James To, what do you want to say? I want to ask questions about today's funding proposals. Then can we go into the agenda? I haven't even started it yet. Okay. And let us start it. Mr. Chen Kim-lam, what do you want to say? Chairman, according to the FC procedure, I think the past hour's discussion was totally unnecessary. Because what we need to handle at the moment is the agenda in the chairman's hands. But just now we had a debate, and the Pan-Democrats used that 1 hour to scold the governments. They just wanted to show that they are very concerned about livelihood issues, and the government just brushed those issues aside. Actually, the Permanent Secretary has already explained very clearly, and the chairman has already exercised his power, disapproving the government's suggestion of inserting another item. The Pan-Democrats have said a lot. They want to give people the impression that they are very concerned about triple welfare payments, 1 month PLH rental waiver, RCHEs, civil service pay rise, etc. And now it's all the government's faults. However, in the past month or so, no matter whether it's at the ESC, PWSC, or FC, at each meeting there was filibustering. And suddenly somebody would invoke 37A, no matter what the item was, no matter what the scale of the project was. They would put forward numerous motions by quoting 37A. So that's why we have a huge backlog now. It's not just about civil service pay rise. It's not just about triple welfare payments or 1 month PLH rental waiver. There are many other projects that we have to approve. So the past hour was wasted. Well, Chairman, you've made it very clear. Actually, that issue can be solved in 3, or actually for today's items, they can be passed within 3 or 4 minutes. So now people will see how the pan-democrats work. They always resort to filibustering. They always invoke 37A. They always come up with different issues so that the government's proposals cannot be passed. They drag their feet all the time so that the projects cannot be approved. So I want to reprimand their filibustering actions again. As a result, the livelihood proposals cannot be passed.
But it seems that they have flouted all rules, and it seems to be their habit now. Members of the public can see it, and they find it very annoying. So I think that we have to approve the items as soon as possible so that the government can submit the items that they have in mind next time. If they say they are so concerned about people's livelihood, then they should not engage in filibustering and waste our time. So, FCR bracket 2015 to 16, number 21. This is recommendations of Public Works Subcommittee made at the meeting on the 20th of May 2015. They are in relation to PWSE bracket 2015 to 16, number 4, number 13, number 10, and number 11 and 5. No members asked for separate voting. Mr. James Toll, just now you said that you would like to talk about this. I would like to talk about PWSE bracket 2015-16 item number 4, that is reprovisioning of FEHD Environmental Hygiene Office cum vehicle depot at Yan Ming Road. I would like to say something about this item. I support that the Sai Yi Street Office cum vehicle depot should be reprovisioned, but the choice of Yan Ming Road is not a good one because it is not a suitable location. The location itself is a prime site. It's very close to an MTR station, and it's very close to the harbor. Is less than 100 feet away from the harbor, so it should not be used as an office cum vehicle depot. There are a lot of sites in Kowloon, say for example, Kwai Chung, that are suitable to be used as an office, vehicle depot, and vehicle depot for different uses. And compared to when they were consulting a district council, yes, there has been some improvement, but still it's very close to a residential area and schools. I think the government has not done its best to identify sites in Kowloon or near Kwai Chung, say for example under flyovers, for the reprovisioning. And there's one more point. Because of historical reasons, the FEHD office is put at the same location as the vehicle depot. There is no need for the two to be put together. The two can be separated, and the government can look into it. You don't need much space for the office, and the vehicle depot can be located in a remote area. And that would have solved all the problems. So I want it on the record that I object to item number 4. If there are no other questions, I would put this to a vote. Dr. Helena Wong, I would like to ask questions about item number 10. That is the new town. Anyone here? No, there won't be any government officials here to answer questions because no member asked for separate voting. So even if you ask the question, there is no one here to answer you. In a PWSC meeting, I've asked some questions about paragraph 27 of this paper. That is, in relation to the archaeological sites near Xiuhang Chun and Keilun Y sites. I asked for supplementary information. If there is no government official here to answer my question, can I be given the information after the meeting? Well, just now there is a supplementary question, supplementary information paper, PWSC 203/14 to 15. So it's already there. If there are no other questions, I will put this item to a vote. Those in favor of FCR bracket 2015 to 16 number 21, please raise their hands. Someone claims a division bell will be rung for 5 minutes. Say that you have pressed the wrong button and you asked me to change it for you.
You
still have dozens of seconds. Let me remind you that the bell is about PWSC papers, 5 sets of them, number 4, 13, 10, 11, and 5. Voting begins. Before I announce the result, members, please check your votes. Voting closes. Result displayed. 38 for, 0 against, 1 abstention. I think the item is carried. Let me remind you that on the 26th of June, there will be 2 sessions of FC. Thank you.